So I'm Professor Caro. I started training in 2017. My husband Simon and Professor Victor basically decided that Simon would take over Gracie Baja-Arnold from Professor Victor. So at that stage, I had never done jiu-jitsu, but I knew a lot of people. We had a lot of friends who did jiu-jitsu. And there were a few women in particular who are now professors who are here tonight, who really encouraged me on that journey. And basically said, you know, we're running this women's self-defense class. Why don't you come down, give it a go? And I think also because, you know, we were going to be running an academy. It was a big commitment, a big decision. We also, you know, I kind of thought like I needed to kind of like get on the mats and give it a try, right? Like, you know, to kind of get that experience. So yeah, so I think that was kind of like the two big motivators. Like I think the women around me and also kind of like, you know, this is something that's going to become a big part of our life. And I kind of knew that, I think, at that stage. There's probably like a few things that kept me from starting. Simon trained for 8 years before I started, and he was so passionate about it and he loved it and he talked about it. I kind of felt like in one sense it was his thing, right? And it wasn't really for me. I'd never done martial arts before. You know, it wasn't something, like I did a lot of sports when I was younger, but I never did anything like a martial art. So I think I didn't know if I saw myself as the sort of person who would ever do it. I think the other thing is, you know, I'd struggled for a long time with my own mental health, and in particular having kind of panic attacks and things like that. And I just didn't know if I had, oh, I don't know, or maybe I just didn't have the confidence, I think, to try and give it a go. It was something that kind of made me worry about social situations, and kind of, you know, those sort of scenarios, and I just didn't know if it was the sort of thing I could do, you know. So it took quite a lot to kind of step on the mats and walk through the door from that kind of starting point, I guess. But I guess sometimes you just have to kind of be brave and just give it a try, right? And mental health is so complicated, and I don't claim to be an expert on it. But at least from my experience, I think it gave me a sense of resilience. And I know that's a word that gets used a lot, resilience, around mental health. But one thing that jiu-jitsu does is it helps you to think, okay, actually, I've come up against the situation and I survived it. So getting on the mats, you know, was maybe a first step for me. Competing was another one, where, you know, I was terrified when I first competed. I was shaking, you know, like really like just actually stepping onto the mats to compete. And I'd love it afterwards. I'd be like, that was a buzz, that was great. But actually to step out there and to do it, you know, and it's kind of like the sort of like moments in your mind when you go, actually, if I can do that, what else can I do? And you realize that, you know, you can overcome these sort of like these things in your life, and I think it builds resilience for all sorts of other elements of my life. And so I've tried to kind of like learn from that, and I think it's helped me in work, it's helped me with family and friends, and you know, all the relationships I have in life, because I feel much more grounded in who I am, and I think I understand myself better through the experiences that I've gone through. Ooh, what kept me with jiu-jitsu? I am really competitive, as pretty much anybody who knows me will probably say, especially my family. Like, you know, like my dad was here tonight and he's super competitive as well. And like growing up, like we were a competitive household. We played Monopoly, like, you know, like the life and death sort of thing, right? So I've always been quite competitive. I think I really enjoyed that part of jiu-jitsu, and going out and competing and having the opportunity to really try something and challenge myself. And I think it's changed my relationship with being competitive, which is kind of maybe something that I felt like kind of a personality thing, to being more about how to lose in competition, how to challenge yourself, how to learn from it. And I think I kind of felt like I was growing as a person through the experiences I had. I mean, I'm sure also, like, you know, I don't think Simon would have let me quit anyway at that stage. I think when he was like, yeah, she's training, let's go, you know. I think also, like, you know, support of family and friends, shall we say, in a more diplomatic way.